Here we are at Island Beach State Park, and we are over at A21, which is a southern access to the park. And today what I'm looking to show you is the difference in the dune composition. Right now I'm staring at the primary dune, or the fore dune, that's over here on the Atlantic Ocean. And you can see that vegetation that's growing is American beach grass, Ammophila revoliculata. And we can see down in here, you can see some of the new growth coming back this year. And you can also see the stalks that they have. So this is ready to seed for the upcoming season. Over here, across this path that goes up into Access 21, you can see another type of grass that's growing. This is called Carex cobamugi. And Carex cobamugi is also referred to as Asiatic sand sedge. So it's a non-native species that comes over, and it is an invasive species. Notice that it has the flowering stalks that are growing as well. It's greening with the new growth. Some of this older growth that's here, I could point out, is kind of curl-like old vegetation that will break down and provide a little more nutrient back into the sand. One of the limitations in a dune is the nutrient. Because of the sand, moisture kind of runs through, but the nutrients also run through the sands greatly. You can notice too, this whole area has a really vast stand of this Carex cobamugi, and that's one of its qualities, is that it acts as an invasive, and it wants to form a monoculture, which is one type of plant, so it wants to take over and kind of grow in a community. If you notice over here, we have a little bit more sparsely populated American beach grass. It can grow more densely, as you can see at the top of that fore dune, but the American beach grass over here, you know, is kind of distinguished from some of the Carex that's over here. And the other thing is we have some Carex that is on the same side that's kind of growing into the dune itself. So all of these plants that grow in a dune, whether it's a seaside goldenrod, we also get Ragusa rose, or what is multiflora rose, which is also a plant that can actually take over an area. They grow really well in the dunes. Sometimes we also get plants like beach plum that actually can grow in the coastal maritime area, and we can get other types of coastal plants that grow and form this whole dune ecosystem. So ecosystems are extremely important when we're talking about dune ecosystems. And the dune itself is not just a pile of sand, it's a vegetation that occupies that sand, and that dune itself is gathering sand over time and kind of building and forming a nice barrier to protecting the wetlands areas and also the properties that are now behind our coastal community. So from this view at Island Beach State Park, I'm kind of doing a turnaround here, and you can see the back side of the park itself. That is looking towards the bay, and that's considered maritime forest, where you get a number of trees that are able to handle salt spray, and they only grow to a certain height because of that salt spray. But you get a number of trees like eastern red cedar that grows very well. You also get black cherry that grows in this area very well on the dunes themselves. And then you could also see that area that has a little bit of dune in the back, and they call that a secondary dune, that is back towards the maritime forest. So this trail is going to take us up to the beach. You might be getting a little bit of wind sound as well. And you can see where some of the dune community itself in the back is starting to become visible, and it looks like a giant cliff, or it was kind of scarped. And those events happen as a result of severe storms. You can get a storm that came through like Sandy that really impacted a lot of the dunes, but the dunes were there to kind of absorb that energy, and in time they kind of repair themselves. And you can see this too, there's a vast stand of the American beach grass, and you can see how it's kind of growing down in the sand. The one thing that's cool too in this scarping, you can see like layers within the dune itself. So this is a dune that was basically scarped, and eventually it will will hopefully fill in with some sand and kind of repair itself. But you can see the visible, you know, types of horizontal kind of lines in there, and that just shows different deposits of sand over time. And over there you can see a little bit more new sand kind of collecting on the base of this dune on the opposite side. So up there is your Asiatic sand sedge, and down below is some new sand that just was deposited here through some winds that are coming off of the ocean onto the beach. It's taking those particles of sand and kind of moving them onto the beach. So the dunes are very important in that they provide protection, but they are a whole ecosystem, and there's a number of flora and fauna that grow on them and become part of this whole coastal beach ecosystem.